Hello, welcome to class. Today we are going to look at the types of government, okay? The various types of government include democracy, oligarchy, monarchy, dictatorship, communism, republic, theocracy, constitutional monarchy, and tyrant. But for today, we want to take a look on these types of government: Nazism, military government, oligarchy, socialism, communism, and capitalism. We have discussed democracy, totalitarianism, and other forms of government. So today we want to concentrate on these six types of government. First, we want to start with Nazism. Now, Nazism is a set of political beliefs or ideology associated with the Nazi Party of Germany. Now, the death of Adolf Hitler, a German president who was majorly influenced by Nazism, became extreme in the applications of this belief to the extent that it started killing the Jews due to the hatred they have for them. Let's listen to this clip as regards Adolf Hitler's evil on the Jews and the way he killed them and all his menaces in the war.
In September 1919, a former amateur artist and army veteran named Adolf Hitler joined the ranks of the German Workers' Party, later known as the Nazis. It was a decision that would have a profound impact not only on Germany, but the entire world. The atrocities committed by the Nazis at the height of their power are staples of every lesson on World War II. But just how did a democracy like Germany fall under the sway of a tyrant in the first place? It all goes back to Germany's loss to the Allies in World War I. German leaders were forced to sign the Treaty of Versailles, agreeing to shrink its armed forces, give up land, and pay large sums of money in reparations, weakening its already unstable economy. Many Germans felt humiliated and betrayed by their leadership, and there was growing fear that their nation would be stuck in poverty and decline. In this climate of bitterness, Hitler rose to prominence. A gifted public speaker, he captured the people's disillusionment with a series of speeches calling for a stronger, unified Germany. He insisted that one group was to blame for the nation's post-war misfortunes: the Jews. Hitler and his followers attempted a government coup in 1923, but the plan failed. Hitler was jailed for treason for 9 months, but the publicity from the failed coup made him more popular than ever. Then, in 1929, the Great Depression hit, destroying the German economy overnight and leaving millions unemployed. Hitler saw the ensuing chaos as his opportunity to seize power. He loudly criticized the ruling government and promised to return Germany to greatness. Long-suffering Germans believed they had finally found their savior. In Germany's 1932 elections, the Nazis won a majority of seats in parliament, and Hitler ran for president. Though he lost, his soaring popularity inspired President Paul von Hindenburg to appoint him chancellor, the head of the German government. As chancellor, Hitler wasted no time tightening his grip on every aspect of German life. He tripled the size of the military, violating the Treaty of Versailles. Under Hitler's orders, rival parties were banned, while paramilitary groups cracked down on protests and executed political opponents. Anti-Semitic laws prohibited Jews from working, voting, and occupying public spaces. A propaganda department produced art, films, and books praising Hitler and embracing his vision of a better Germany. After the death of President von Hindenburg in 1934, Hitler declared himself Führer, an absolute dictator. With Germany under his total control, Hitler would shift his focus to global domination, setting the stage for World War II.
So Nazism was the major influence on Hitler's government, and this influence made him to have so much hatred, okay, or we can say prejudice toward the Jews, whom he executed and killed in the concentration camps. The next form of government is military government. In times past, after we had our independence, Nigeria as a nation has gone through a lot of military and dictatorship rule. First, let's look at the meaning of the military. The military refers to the armed forces of any nation. Its purpose is to defend the citizens of our country from external aggression. Okay, now types of military government. We have the military government, stratocracy, martial law, and military dictatorship. Let's look at them one after the other. Military government refers to a territory under the control of military after it has conquered that territory in a war. In other words, any government that is called military government, it means it's under the control of the military after it's been conquered. Now, stratocracy is the government by military forces, okay? And military governments, you can say plural stratocracies. That is a situation whereby the military is in charge of controlling the citizens. The military government is not the best form of government. Now let's look at the third form of military government. We have the martial law. It's that law that is imposed directly by the military to control the normal civil function or suspension of civil law by a government, especially in response to an emergency when civil forces are overwhelmed or in an occupied territory. Okay, then we have the fourth type of military government as military dictatorship. This is when military forcefully takes over power from a civilian government after a coup d'etat. Now, Nigeria have experienced a lot of military coup. Okay, Nigeria, Ghana, Burkina Faso, they are examples of countries in Africa that have experienced military dictatorship. This clip is just a scene from a military controlled environment. Now, we want to look at oligarchy. Oligarchy means government by a few. Power is vested in a small but dominant wealthy elites. Now, oligarchy versus monarchy. A monarchy is restricted to a few ruling royal families, unlike oligarchy, where the government is by the few wealthy rich in the society. You can see the image before you. Okay, so the wealthy, they are the ones on the throne, unlike a monarchy that goes with family. So, like I said earlier, oligarchy comes from two Greek words, oligon, which means few, archo, which means to rule or to command. So, oligarchy invariably means rule of the few. Now, it's a form of government in which political power effectively rests with a small elite segment of the society. Moving on, oligarchy was used by Aristotle in a negative sense to refer to despotic power exercised by a few and privileged group for often corrupt or selfish purposes. Now, in most classic oligarchies, governing elites were recruited exclusively from a hereditary ruling caste, whose members are there to use their powers for corrupt purposes. Now, I want to look at socialism as another type of government. Socialism, okay? Now, socialism is an economic system in which the major factors of production, distribution, and exchange are in the hands of the government. Okay, a socialist economy is that economy in which all means of production, all the factors of production, everything that have to do with the welfare of the citizens, okay, it's being controlled by the government. So the citizens don't have any control when it comes to economic development, when it comes to decision making, when it comes to welfare, education, health, water, housing. Now, wealth is shared equally among the citizens. Power is centralized, and basic amenities are housing, water, electricity, and education. They are all free. So, in a socialist economy, basic amenities are free. Housing is free, water, electricity, education, access to health facilities, to health clinics, they are free. So often you see that citizens work in government establishments and they are being given meals instead of being paid with cash. Okay, so that's the socialist economy. Now, we want to look at communism. Communism is another form of government, is a type of government, okay? Now we have communist economies. So the first communist country was Russia. Okay. Communism is an economic and political system in which all the means of production, distribution, and exchange are owned, managed, and controlled by the state. So, in other words, in a communist state, all means of production, distribution, and exchange of goods and services, they are being controlled by the government. Okay. So it's a bit close to that of it's close to socialism, but in a communist state, there is this stricter measures that are applied. Now, Karl Marx, a German scholar, he's a German philosopher. He's known as the father of communism. Okay, so Karl Marx is known as the father of communism. Karl Marx lived during the Industrial Revolution, okay, a time where owners became wealthy, where their workers suffered under poor working conditions. Now, let's look at capitalism as another form or rather type of government, okay? Unlike socialism and communism, capitalism, it's a social and economic system in which individuals, companies, and organizations own the means of production and they maximize profit. So in capitalism, governments don't have much interest, okay, in business or in the means of production, distribution of goods and services. Examples of countries that practice capitalism are Nigeria, Kenya, USA, Britain, France, and Cote d'Ivoire. So capitalism helps to increase the level of employment and it increases economic growth of the country. The disadvantage of capitalism is that there's this wide gap between the rich and the poor, and there's usually a high level of corruption because it's the highest bidder of any goods that gets it in a capitalist economy. Nigeria is an example, okay? Thank you for watching.